The American forces that have been deployed to Iraq do not and will not have a combat mission. Their mission is to advise and assist our partners on the ground. As I told our troops yesterday, we can join with allies and partners to destroy ISIL without American troops fighting another ground war in the Middle East.
The fight against ISIS must be waged with more than just American planes and American troops. If there is any chance on any sense of victory, it must include ground forces from the native countries, those with a real stake in not only bringing these Islamic killers to their knees, but having a real chance at keeping them down. The president got what he wanted from Congress, an overwhelming approval to train and arm the Syrian rebels. However, at the same time, there can be heard a growing discourse from his own military and those who deal in real-time strategy and tactics that what we're doing is either very wrong or not even close to being enough. Let's welcome to MidPoint a 20-year veteran of the Special Forces and one of the first to deploy following the 9/11 attacks. He spends his time now tackling strategic issues for the Green Beret Foundation. Scott Neal joins us. Scott, thank you so much for being here, and we thank you for your service.
As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Let us get right to the issue of arming the Syrian rebels. It took seconds after this vote happened for me to get inundated with friends of mine in the military, strategists, tacticians, and others who have been with the CIA and other branches of the military who were enraged at this. They said this is absolutely the wrong thing to do, to put American weapons in the hands of Syrian rebels, some of whom, they say, are actually still involved with al-Qaeda. What's your take?
Well, I certainly agree. And once again, we've lost such an intelligence bubble after we departed Iraq. We really cannot tell who's friend or foe. And when Special Forces usually partners with another force, at least they have a common goal together. And right now, you can't tell that with some of the rebels you're siding with.
So then how do we pick the sides? You've been there. You know these people. You're involved in this all the time. Frankly, we can sit here all day long and we can say that the Free Syrian Army is the correct one. They're just a paper tiger. There's really nothing there whatsoever. The Syrian rebels have al-Qaeda. So who do we trust?
Well, really, that is the question. And, you know, we were partners pretty strong with the Peshmerga and the Kurds in the early 90s. We trained them to a very effective fighting force. They actually became the Iraqi counter-terrorist force and special forces early on. And then somehow we kind of abandoned that partnership for a long time, and now we're trying to bring them back up again.
Is it possible, though, and again, here's all sides of this, that things are happening right now? You mentioned the Peshmerga, because there had been talks a few weeks ago that we needed to get involved. There were arms, there was some help to them, and those are the ones that we needed to have fight this war for us in Iraq. Isn't it just possible that maybe something is happening and we're just not hearing about it? Maybe something good is being done?
Well, I certainly know that, and I hope everybody else believes that too. The initial forces in there right now are special forces and special operators. This is our bread and butter. We live in this world, and we've been doing it very effective in quiet places all around the world. So yes, we are doing those small measures, but we're wondering how we're going to sustain this, because we can't keep that same special forces footprint there the whole time.
All right, before we leave it, I'm going to get back around here to what I started with here. In your opinion, and what you know, and your ground knowledge of this and how things work in the military, is there any doubt in your mind that if we are to put weapons in the hand of the Syrian rebels, that sooner or later we're going to be sorry that we gave them those weapons and they will come back to haunt us?
Certainly so, because it's the personalities we're giving them to, and they're the most unreliable partners we could find.
All right, so now let's take all that then into effect here. We keep hearing about, and in the last few days or so, the fact that the military has given the president some packages, they have given him some options. They're going to look again, and they're going to come back to him with some more options. Let me start right at the very beginning, not what we do on the ground, but what's happening right now. Because the military themselves, you can hear it in the various press conferences and the various appearances, even they seem to be at odds with what the president wants. So if you're sitting in that room right now, what's the very first thing that they're going to focus on that needs to be the part of whatever package that we take against the enemy?
Well, not only the ground capability and air capability, but remember, there's the rest of national power that needs to come to bear. There's the financial understanding of ISIS and attacking their finances. There's the black market activity. There's the pipeline of foreign fighters which are stemming unimpeded into Syria. And that's what the military also wants to see. We can't carry this burden by ourselves. What's the rest of national power doing?
All right, now, When you get that then, and you go to that next point, because what you're saying is very, very proper here, and we've talked about this on this show before, to get to the money in ISIS. But is there enough time to do that? These people are killing and executing people on a regular basis here. We see the videos. They have another hostage, which they haven't threatened to yet, but you get the feeling that something might happen here. But what can we do that's going to get from the military to the president to the ground and get something done right away?
Well, I think you really have to take the gloves off the special operators and just let them stop momentum. You have to be very bold and brazen, audacity, all of those military strategic measures, you have to let them have it. You can't coach a football team and then throw away the playbook. You have to let them go at what they know how to go at.
So then what is it that they know how to go at? Let's get right into it, down to the meat of this. If you take the gloves off, what's the first thing that happens?
Well, you'll see a series of very quick key leader strikes, okay, not only in Syria, but Iraq. You'll see some cyber actions against them, of destroying of their narrative. We need to show them, for the cowards running with their tails between the legs, that they are. And we need to show a very bold, brazen Iraqi special forces strike as well.
Well, would you then get down to what you're talking about here, and certainly on the ground? To a lot of people, they'll say, this sounds like dirty tactics. But then again, to the people who understand tactics of war, they'll say there is no such thing as dirty tactics. You have to go out and you have to eliminate the enemy here. Would you then say that what we need to do with those people on the ground, whomever they are, whether it's a small force, a large force, we just got to fight dirty?
Well, it's not fighting dirty, it's fighting a war, and war is by nature dirty. And if you want to play nice, it's like the American revolutions when, you know, the Americans fought the British and British couldn't understand why we just wouldn't stand there. So you have to meet them at their level. They're barbaric, they understand force and power, so deliver it to them.
What about those who say, and again, I'm sure you've heard this as well, we're the United States. We shouldn't get as barbaric as them. We're supposed to be better than that. How would you answer those people who counter that argument?
Well, certainly when I was in Special Forces and conducted all these hits and raids, I never stopped to cut somebody's head off and Facebook my friends. So yes, you can deliver immense firepower, instill dramatic fear in your enemy, and still follow the rules of war.
As we're talking about what's happening between the military leaders and the president right now, I'm going to read a quote from you that we actually took down earlier today. The country all but solved the holistic foreign fighter problem flowing into Iraq from 2008 to 2010. That task force was created and given resources and authorities and the best from each agency. Now everyone has retired or moved on, and that knowledge is lost. The problem and solutions are not new. This is important. The problem and solutions are not new. They are just new to those looking at them today. Are you indicating here, as I've heard from some folks, that the people sitting here right now, the ones looking at it, they don't get it. They haven't studied history. And the fact, if we went back to the people who were at war before, who basically were the hawks in the military, those are the ones we need to listen to, and stop listening to the apologists.
Right. I've watched this come together from the very beginning. I was a young Green Beret and I was fighting. And when I came up to a strategic level and this task force was formed, it was really the nuances and how to blend a network together. Now remember, we're fighting a network. We're fighting a network that lives in the virtual space. They do activities to raise money. We need that kind of force. And that force is not an organized military unit. It's not a law enforcement department. It is a task force of professionals, young and old, who know this problem.
Scott, would you consider the current administration, when it comes to this point in this war, cowardly, ineffective? What would be the words?
I would say they're dazed and confused. You know, you see a lot of presidential fundraisers, and I'm wondering if that is the element chewing his ear and not listening to what everybody is saying. The censors are saying what to do and what needs to be done. They just have to listen to it.
What about those who would say that, and here's another article that you have to look at, all these different analysts now, one who says that we need to get to ISIS not by going to war with them, but countering the narrative. They're talking about the online ISIS recruitment videos. Go at that. Be more professional this way. Don't get on the ground. You're shaking your head right now. I know exactly what you're thinking. Go ahead.
Well, number one, you have to. You have to go knuckle to knuckle, because that's where they keep their perception that they're powerful and mighty, and actually they're kind of wimps. And they don't fight very well, but when you're shooting unarmed civilians, you look tough. But here we have Hollywood. We have the gaming industry. We have the largest machine for narrative telling in the world, and it's not activated against these guys, and it needs to be.
Do you think that the kids would listen? And when I say kids, I mean the 20, 21-somethings that seem to want to defect and go kill people and be on the other side. Do you think they'd really listen?
Well, once again, somebody told them that's the path they need to take. And if you don't have a counter narrative, what if, nobody's blocking that? Nobody is setting that position up. You're leaving that flank of narratives open.
Scott, we continue to talk about this. We are going to for quite a long time, I fear, because it seems like we're going to be in this for quite some time. I thank you for your candid comments, and I'll look forward to talking to you again. Thanks so much.
Thank you once again.
All right, later on this hour, the magic that is Alibaba and whether or not you can cash in. After the break, ask the doctors what they think of Obamacare and what it will do to your medical needs. Don't ask the experts, ask the doctors. We're going to do just that when MidPoint continues, where we question everything.